My name is Ashton Oliver, and I'm the founder of Live Better Therapeutics. And the company's slogan is "Life is worth living." So let's make it happen. So the problem I would like to address is the amount of pain that sickle cell disease patients experience during the sickle cell crisis. Around 50% of patients tend to be hospitalized constantly in the event of a sickle cell crisis, and that's solely dependent upon the amount of pain, which is contributed by the hemoglobin combinations. So finding a way to modulate pain in patients with sickle cell disease would be good, or even finding a way to modulate the amount of occurrences that they experience during the sickle cell crises would be great also. Another major problem is the treatments that are readily available for the patients. And these consist of uh, or medical drugs, bone marrow transplants, and blood transfusions. I spoke with a hematologist at a local hospital, Cooper Green Medical, and he told me the cost of all the treatments. So typically, the opioids cost anywhere between $1,000 to $3,000 annually, and this is just for like a normal patients, not the upscale patients who experience a lot of pain. So the numbers increase. Um, the bone marrow transplant, it can cost anywhere between $100,000 and $500,000. And he also told me that the transplant only lasts between 3 to 6 months, or if you're lucky, maybe a year. And I don't think paying $100,000 for a temporary treatment is cost effective. And the blood transfusions, they cost anywhere between $200 to $300 per pint of blood, which is pretty fair. But the money comes in when they have constant blood transfusions throughout a span of a year. So I don't think that's good. So the solution to this would be to create a medical device that will provide an affordable, effective alternative health therapy. Moreover, something I think we should consider while creating any sort of medical device is not to cut out anyone, because that'll affect the revenue that you bring in. So creating different devices for different consumers, such as the patient themselves and the hospitals and physicians, and really winning over the physicians in the hospital would be good for convincing the patients to take the treatment. So catering to everybody will help your business long term. So moreover, uh, if everything goes well, the medical device will modulate pain in patients with sickle cell disease to produce better health outcomes while reducing medical costs. Uh, why I think this is important is because of the mortality rates and the hospitalization rates. There aren't many updated demographics in sickle cell disease. That goes to show like the amount of innovation that they have. So in a decade, um, the hospitalization rates seem to be pretty high, and the mortality rates are high as well. Speaking with the hematologist, he told me just for quite some time, sickle cell disease patients typically only live to see between 20 and 35 years old, and I would assume that is the same for today's time, since there's little to no amount of innovation in this market. So this is the interesting part. Talking about the market size in relations to my company. The total addressable market is around $150 million. The total market for the sickle cell disease market itself is uh, 1.79 billion. Although that's a small number, but around 2030, that is expected to increase around 500%. So it would be good. I think it'll be a good move to maybe hop in the market now and get out and get your feet wet. So the served available market is around 90 to 100 million, and this is because when I started when I start the business, I would like to really cater to the East Coast of the U.S. And this is because there aren't many cases of sickle cell disease on the West Coast. The only place where I found a decent amount of cases were California and Colorado, with California having only 5,263 people diagnosed when there is between 150,000 and 200,000 people diagnosed with sickle cell disease in the US. So, catering to places like Alabama because they have a high diagnosis rate. Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Illinois, New York, any of the, really catering to those states would be good. And the share of market is expected to be around 75 million, and that's just because we have to convince the customers to want to take the treatment. Just being realistic, I would expect to maybe convince around 70,000 people diagnosed with sickle cell disease to try the device. And that's really, I really believe that could be done without the backing of physicians and hospitals, because a lot of these patients are desperate to find different treatments. Most of them tend to not even take any of the treatments such as opioids, bone marrow transplants, and other things because they can't afford it, or they're just tired of the treatments themselves, which would directly contribute to the mortality rate overall. So any sort of innovation, I'm pretty sure they will latch on to. So the competition in relation to the sickle cell disease market is Bristol Myers Squibb, and they came up with the drug called hydroxyurea, which is around since I think the 90s. So it's been around for quite some time. People still use it to this day. You have a company called CRISPR. They're not really in the sickle cell disease market right now, but in the future, I feel like they will be a big powerhouse. Allegedly, they came up with a way to cure sickle cell disease, so that would be good for them later on. Adagvio, they just hit the sickle cell disease scene. They released a drug called oxybrittle, which is kind of like a hydroxyurea derivative. Is just the same. It's the same thing, another opioid. But a lot of patients are trying to use it because it's different. So that I believe that goes to show how many people would be open to trying different treatments. As far as the founding team, I don't really have anyone. I would love to have more people to bounce ideas off of. I don't want to do this by myself, so it'd be good to find other people. So the future plans for this company is to overall just find a way to provide alternative health therapies for patients with sickle cell disease and other diseases on a nationwide scale first, and then a global scale. Um, as far as the current steps I need to take now, I would just like to create a working prototype for my desired device and get a business underway shortly after. And